In this video, we're going to focus on backing up and restoring our devices, both here in TIA Portal and at the hardware level. Now, before we begin backing up, we need to make sure that we are not doing this during production. That's because if I back up my PLC, it will put the PLC into stop mode, and if I back up my HMI, it will exit out of the application. Okay, so let's get started with the PLC. If I want to back up my PLC, I need to first make sure I'm online, then I can right click on it, and then say backup from online device. Now notice that this will give me this upload window and tell me that it will have to stop the module, so you can confirm that by clicking on this drop down and then saying upload from device. Okay, so now it has been backed up. If you want to put the PLC back in run, you have to do that manually. So click on the PLC and then click this play button here. Okay, so now if we go to our online backups folder, we now have this new backup file that was created. This backup file simply serves as a restore point, and that's very nice. So what I can do is I can go into, say, my PLC code and make a change. And let's say one day the PLC is not working how it used to, there's some bugs in it. What I can do is I can go down to my online backups folder. I need to go offline with the PLC, and then I can restore this to the PLC by hitting download. Again, I need to stop my modules because this does a complete backup. This backups not just the software but also the hardware. So I'll hit load. And this process will take about 5 minutes to complete. And that's because this is not just simply downloading the software, it is really cleaning out the PLC and then giving this a complete restore. And when it's finished, I'll make sure that start all is checked and I will hit finish. So now what's nice about this backup is that you see that my change still stays here in the project that I changed it from a normally open to a normally closed contact. Yet in the PLC, it's running just how it did when I made my backup file. So if I go back online with my PLC, you'll see that this main routine where I made my change now has an inconsistency, and I can do the comparison like I showed in an earlier video to see what those differences are. So if the machine's running weird, I can now restore it to back when it was running perfectly, and if that doesn't fix the problem, then I can just download what I currently have in my project and then try some different diagnostic tools to figure out what's going on. And it is important that these backup files can be renamed to whatever makes sense, and you can save them off. So you can right click, say save as, and here I'll go ahead and throw them in my backups folder. Next, let's take a look at backing up our HMI from within TIA Portal. So if I want to do a complete backup of my HMI, and this includes my screens, my datas, my recipes, my licenses, I can do that straight here from TIA Portal. To do that, I can right click on my HMI, go to HMI device maintenance, and then select backup. So here it's going to ask me how I wanted to navigate to my HMI. So I'll do a search, and then with my HMI selected, I'll press create. This is going to open up a program called Simatic ProSave, and over here is when I select what type of backup I want to do, and most of the time you want to do a complete backup with licenses. Next, you're going to point to a folder that you want to save the backup file in. So I'll put it in the same folder where I stored my PLC backup. I'll just give this a name. And press open. And now I can press start backup. This process will take about 5 minutes to do the complete backup, and note that this will exit out of whatever application you're running on the HMI. And as you can see here, it successfully created my backup and it stored it here at this location. So this will act as my restore point, and it backed up everything about that HMI, the screens, the data, and the licenses. So if ever something goes wrong with my HMI, I can always restore it back to how it was at this point in time. The restore process works very similarly, so I'll exit out of here. And then to restore from that file, I can right click on my HMI again, select HMI device maintenance, and this time I'll click restore. So again, I need to look for the HMI. And now that it's found it, I'll hit load. Again, this opens up Simatic ProSave, and this time I want to find the file. So I'm going to go to my backups folder again and select my HMI backup. And then notice here that it says what type of panel it's going to be valid for, when it was created, and what firmware it's using. And it's also going to say what's included in it, such as the licenses, recipes, and user administration. Be careful, if you don't have the licenses here, you will lose them. So make sure that when you do the backup that you do the backup with licenses. So when you're ready, you can hit Start Restore. And here you're going to get that warning message again saying, if you did not back this up with licenses, then you're going to lose them. So since we did and we confirmed it here, we'll say yes. And then this will begin the restore process. And this process will take a little bit longer. This one will take more like 10 minutes to complete. And so as you can see here, the restore was successful and we have completely backed up that HMI. So now the HMI is acting just as it did when we created the backup file. Okay, finally, we can talk about backing up the whole project. To learn how to back up the whole project, please refer to the previous video about managing projects. There we show you how to do an archive and retrieve of your project file. And now that we know how we can back up devices here in TIA Portal, let's take a look and see how the devices can automatically back themselves up. All S7 1500 PLCs have the ability to back themselves up through a use of a type of SD card known as a Simatic memory card. On standard S7 1500s, the Simatic memory card can be found by lifting up the display and then locating the card here. On S7 1500s in the ET200SP form factor, the memory card can be found here under the Run Stop switch. Whenever you download to the PLC, all of that information first gets downloaded to the memory card, and that's why this is called the load memory. Some notes about this card include that all of your hardware configuration, your tags, your program blocks, your comments, and your titles are automatically backed up onto this card. Now, while your tag information does get stored here, the actual values do not. That gets stored in the internal memory of the PLC. The use of a Simatic memory card with an S7 1500 is mandatory, and only a Simatic memory card can be used. For example, a standard SD card will not function in a 1500. The card should never be removed when the PLC is powered up. This is because the PLC is interacting with that card, so if you remove it while it's running, you run the risk of corrupting that card and possibly the PLC. If you format the memory card in Windows, you will damage it, and there is no way to restore it. The only way to format the memory card properly is within TIA Portal. The Comfort Panel also has its own way of automatically backing up its data, screens, and so forth. On the back of the Comfort Panel exists two SD card slots. The first slot is for data, and the card that can go in here can be any standard SD card. The next slot is for your system backup, and this can only be a Simatic HMI memory card that has a capacity of 2 GB or higher. Neither card is required for operation of the Comfort Panel, but it is recommended that you use the system slot to automatically back up your HMI screens. Whenever you insert a new Simatic HMI memory card into the system slot of the Comfort Panel, it will automatically shut down an application if it's running, and then it will ask you if you would like to back up your data onto that Simatic card. If you would like to enable automatic backups, press continue. If not, then remove the SD card. By pressing continue, I will begin the backup process. Please note that this process will take approximately 10 minutes to complete. When the process completes, you will now have a full and complete backup of that HMI device, including the licenses. So long as a Simatic HMI memory card remains inserted into the system slot, it will continuously back up the HMI device, which will give you complete protection in case the device gets damaged. And so now we know how to back up our PLCs and our HMIs. In the next video, I will show you how you can replace your devices and then use these SD cards to restore them back to working order.